Hello, everyone. If you're coming in to the from the waiting room, we will get started in just a few minutes. We're waiting on everyone to come in. But thank you for taking time out of your day today to join us. Welcome to those of you who are joining us today. We're going to get started in about 30 more seconds here. We have several people coming in from the waiting room. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the April NCSEA webinar, Supporting Military Students and their families, with our special guests today, Danielle Merrell and Heather Winstead. My name is Natasha Sharp. I'm your current president of North Carolina School Counselor Association, and I'm excited today to be your host for today's session. I want to start off by introducing our guests. I'll start with Ms. Danielle Merrell. She's in her second year as a military liaison for Onslow County Schools. Prior to this role, Danielle worked as a school counselor for 11 years at White Oak Elementary School and Morehead City Elementary School in Carteret County. Danielle was also a classroom teacher, teaching 1st through 5th grade in Onslow and Carteret County for 12 years. Danielle is involved in the Military Affairs Commission and participates in the Quality of Life Committee. Danielle grew up in a military family, moving frequently. Her father served 30 years in the United States Marine Corps. Danielle has lived in Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma, but considers North Carolina her home. Danielle graduated from Jacksonville High School in Onslow County, and she went on to attend the University of North Carolina at Wilmington, graduating in 1997 with a Bachelor of Arts in Elementary Education. In 2010, Danielle graduated from East Carolina University with a Master's of Science in Counselor Education. Danielle and her husband, Mark, currently live in Emerald Isle. Danielle has 3 grown children, Justin, Chandler, and Paige. So we welcome Danielle. And then Ms. Heather Winstead is in her 3rd year as a district military liaison for Wayne County Public Schools. Prior to this role, Heather worked as a school counselor for 14 years, serving at all grade levels. She worked at Green Early College High School, Green Central High School, Moss Hill Elementary, Greenwood Middle School, and she was Wayne County Public Schools Counselor of the Year in 2020. She was also an academic counselor for the College of Arts and Sciences at East Carolina University. Heather is involved in the North Carolina Military Affairs Commission and participates in the Quality of Life Committee and is a member of the Scorecard Working Group. She also is a member of the Wayne County Military Affairs Committee and serves as the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base 336 FGS Honorary Commander. Heather serves on various other boards and committees and volunteers in several ways throughout the community. She is a current member of the Wayne County School Counselors Board and is a past president. And she is a member of the North Carolina School Counselor Association and is a past delegate committee member. She has volunteered in leadership roles on the Wayne Chamber Career Fair and STEAM Fest for the past 8 years, and various activities hosted by the Downtown Goldsboro Development Corporation. Heather serves in several leadership roles at her lifelong home church, Bethel Fellowship Church in LaGrange. She's on the church council, staff parish relations committee, women's fellowship committee, program coordinator, youth group co-director, youth group committee, vacation Bible school planning committee, choir member, annual dinner theater committee, and website committee member. Heather grew up in LaGrange, North Carolina. As a child, she had a great love for watching the Seymour Johnson Air Force Base jets fly over her family's fields in the backyard. She graduated from North Lenore High School in 2003 She attended East Carolina University for college and was a summa cum laude graduate with a Bachelor of Science in Family and Community Services in 2007 and a Master's of Science in Counselor Education in 2008. Heather, her husband Brandon, son Brody, age 13, and son Brantley, age 10, have lived in Pikeville for the last 6 years. Please join me in welcoming Heather Winstead as well. Just a kind of housekeeping item for our content disclosure statement today. All intellectual property rights during today's webinar, the content and all materials distributed at or in connection with the webinar are owned by the North Carolina School Counselor Association and or the speakers presenting at the event. You may not use or reproduce or allow anyone to use or reproduce any of NCSEA's trademarks and or any materials distributed at or in connection with this event for any reason without prior written permission of NCSEA and the presenters speaking today. Photos and recordings of the session content are prohibited. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Danielle and Heather. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Sharp. Hello and welcome to everybody who is in attendance today. I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules. We, as former school counselors, know what your days are like this time of year. So we certainly appreciate you being here to learn a little more about supporting military students and their very unique needs.
Okay, so hello from me as well, and thank you to Ms. Sharp for that wonderful introduction, and we do appreciate you all being here today. So today we are going to go over our session objectives, which is what we'd like to cover and what we'd like for you to gain from attending this session today. So we would like for you to understand about military family lifestyle. We would like for you to know how to identify military students within your school. Understand the Purple Star application process and how you can be a recipient. Familiarize yourself with a law that levels the playing field for all military students, and to locate the resources that support the unique needs of our military students.
So we wanted to start off with a map of North Carolina and where our major installations are located. All the green areas are our major installations in North Carolina. We do want you to keep in mind that these are the major ones, and there are lots of other smaller training facilities, Coast Guard stations all up and down the coast of North Carolina. So these are the major ones that might be in proximity to you.
And looking at that map that Danielle just showed us, as you can see, there are military installations all throughout North Carolina. Yes, more central to the coast, but truly all throughout. So that really, truly means there are military students in every district within North Carolina schools. So it's really important that we get that message out. And in looking at the military installations' impact on our state, it's important to know that the military is the 4th largest population within the U.S., the 2nd largest industry behind agriculture in North Carolina, and it brings $66 billion into gross state product, 13% of our state's economy. And there are 578,000 direct and indirect jobs created by military within our state alone. So as you can see, they're very important to us here in North Carolina. All right.
Military by numbers in North Carolina, there are over 81,000 pre-K to 12th grade military connected children. Almost 65,000 of those having a full-time active duty parent or guardian, and then another almost 20,000 with a parent in the National Guard or the reserves. And then on top of those numbers with active duty and reserves, we have close to 200, a little over 250,000 veteran households who are also living across our entire state. This is a map that's created by DPI. One of the requirements we have is to collect a military identifier for each of our students. And this map indicates where those military student populations are. The darker the color, the higher the percentage of military connected students. So you can see those deep dark colors near our major installations, but every county in North Carolina has military connected students.
So we're going to switch gears for just a second and let's talk about military family lifestyle. And one of the ways that Danielle and I like to do that is we like to talk about just having you kind of give us some feedback. So if anyone's willing to participate, we'd really appreciate that. But we're going to show you a series of photos, and I'd love for you to just describe what you see as you think it relates to a military student or a military family's experience. So would anybody like to tell me what they think about the box with the hand?
Always having to pack up and move.
Amen. Yes, always having to move. They are never in a location for a very long period of time. It looked to me, the first time I saw this picture, I thought, gosh, they're lost in a sea of boxes. So that's relatable. Sometimes their boxes actually arrive after they do, though. So, sometimes there's lots of complications in there. You think about a child that has to start school pretty quickly thereafter they arrive. Their life may be still packed in those boxes. So there's so many things that go there or go into that when you think about military families. Those boxes give me stress looking at them. So you can imagine what the parents are bringing to you when they come to enroll and all of those things. So yeah, that was great. Thank you for answering that. Okay, so the next one, it's report cards. So kids are holding report cards. What would that make you think about in relation to a military student? So for me, I'll say that when I look at that, it makes me think of, oh gosh, the student's just getting here. Do we have the same classes that are being offered on that report card? Are they going to keep those same A's because they transitioned here? And are they going to adjust well? Do we still offer what they need? Are we going to have the grading practices that were the same as their old school? So there's a lot of anxiety for children, especially our upper grades children, when we look at things like report cards and transcripts and things that they bring in, because as you know, there's no one state that does it exactly the same in the United States. We're not holistic when it comes to the way we offer courses as state by state. And so, and I will say this too, also some of our students come from overseas. And so that does add another layer there of having to try to count what they can count. And we don't want students having to retake a course. So in thinking about that, holding that paper is so significant to them because there is a lot of anxiety in that change when they come in.
May I just say something briefly?
Sure.
I did get a flashback when I saw that because when I moved to California, they were placing me in all these honor classes. And I was actually moving from Washington, D.C. And so finally I had to my parents had to just say, she's already had these classes. So that's why you're putting her in honor classes with these straight A's, but it's really not like that.
Yes. Thank you. And I love that
Yeah.
personal experience because it requires a personal conversation for every kid whenever we're moving in and transitions like that, because we don't want them to have that experience of, she's already done this. All right.
Thank you for sharing, Pamela. All right, the next one, does anyone want to just tell us what you see here, what you're thinking when you see these pictures? Oh, don't be shy. Come on. All right. I will say that this is was somebody. This is Tanya, were you going to say something?
No, I was just saying, making new friends, having to move, so frequently, it could be challenging to make new friends. And also you're leaving your already established friendships that you had.
That's right. And so looking at these two pictures, it's obvious that one group is feeling successful, there's supports in place. It looks like they're doing some kind of introduction. And then the bottom picture, this is a student who is not feeling successful, maybe not feeling like he's fitting in. And for this one, and we're going to speak in length about this in a little bit, are the transition programs that we have in our schools. Those could be things like student to student, you might hear it referred to as S2S, anchored for life, and then sometimes just school-based programs like buddy to buddy or your student ambassadors. And we're going to talk more into detail on what makes a solid transition program.
Very good. How about the next picture? Anybody can relate to this picture at all? I'll say for right now, it's pretty significant because we know there's a heightened awareness of what all is going in the world right now. And so when I look at this picture, one thing I think about is deployments. A lot of deployments do take place at night. So, you know, that automatically made my mind go there, that somebody's family member, parent could be leaving. It makes me think about their schedules and how the military works 24/7. So they have night shift, like they're definitely working. The parent may be dealing with a swing shift, you know, all of these things. And okay, thank you. I'm so sorry about that. And then the demands that are in the role of this military service provider as the parent here with this child. So I think about the stress that puts on the service member, the troop themselves, but then I think about how that translates into family life as well.
All right, the next one. What do you think might be happening in this picture?
I thought about my own self, you know, when my father was Navy. So mother and I dressing in the same kind of outfits and welcoming him back. So just to see him again was just wonderful.
Right, absolutely. So this one is to kind of get us to think about deployments and what deployments are. So we don't know if this is a goodbye hug or if this is a welcome home hug. Just thinking about what kind of emotions go into a family who has somebody who's leaving for 6 months, and some of our most recent deployments from Camp Lejeune have been 8 months. And so what is that like to have a family member gone, and sometimes without communication for weeks at a time? And then on top of the coming home, we assume that that's a happy time and it's full of joy. But we also have to think about how these families are in transitions and the parental roles are changing and the mixed emotions that the children have because they've gone from having one parent in the household now to having two parents back in the household, and those roles do change.
Absolutely. And guys, I just want to let you know that I just started looking at the chats. It's hard to split our screen like that. So I am so appreciative of all the comments that are coming in and all the participation. So thank you so much. On the next slide, you see the brain with the Band-Aid. What does that kind of make you think about? Yes, I'm looking at the chat and it says PTSD or a TBI. Absolutely. It could absolutely make me see that. Not always being able to see the effects that are visible that our parent brings back home. Mental health wounds are invisible. We know that, and that is hard, and that brings back an effect for the family as well. Not to mention the family that's left behind if they had to deploy. That could also be a mom or a child brain as well, because they're having to go through so many different adjustments as well. So yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for that.
And this is the last one. So when you see this picture, what are some of the thoughts that you might have? And Heather, I can't see the chat, so if somebody responds, let me know.
Okay. I've got half a screen up, y'all, so I'm like trying to look at the same time.
Right. So for this, go ahead.
I would say for this one, it shows the split roles of a person. So you see a businessman on what is my left side, but then you see his military service on the right side. So the dual roles that this person is playing that we wouldn't see if he just shows up as a typical dad in a suit, shirt, and a tie, but he's also representing the military as well.
Right, absolutely. And also our reservists and guards who are business professionals in the workforce during the week. And then, 1 week in a month, they're putting their uniform on and a few weeks in the summertime. So what does that look like for a family who has a family member in that role? And then retirement, going from wearing that uniform every single day and that being a huge part of your identity, sometimes for an entire career, 30 years, to being what's next in my life and that transition. So, if you have received a student who has a newly retired family, what kind of unique needs does that family have as they're transitioning into a new workforce?
Okay, so we are going to switch gears again and move on to our next topic. And our next topic is, how do you actually identify your military connected students within your building? So one, let me start with, the family has to self-identify. This is nothing that the military will provide to you as a school, so the family is going to have to tell you. And how do they do that? So one of the ways they're going to do that is through their enrollment packet. You're going to be able to ask the questions there. And then another additional way is, annually you collect new information, new data sheets on students at the beginning of the year. So, keeping that current information, that's how you can tell that if they're still connected or if their parent has retired out, these things. So once you get that on paper, or once you get that in those packets, then what? Then from there, your data manager, you as the counselor, whomever, will put this information into PowerSchool. And from PowerSchool, you will categorize how that student is connected. So let's say they're connected through their family member being an active duty member, or they're an active reserve member, or, it gives us different choices. And so we'll, put that in there. And you can see on the screen here, the red icon, or the red arrow points to the icon. So once you populate that in PowerSchool, there'll be an icon there that is a military identifier. So that lets you know, that lets your teachers who are in PowerSchool know that this student is military connected. So from this point, you as a counselor, how do you know you have a list of military kids in your district? So one of the things, or your school, one of the things that you do is, as a counselor, you can go to the left-hand side of your screen for PowerSchool, click on NCDPI reports. From there, you click military, and from there, you click military connected. It will pull up your list. My advice to all people pulling this list up is to go to the very bottom left hand and click export all, and export this into an Excel sheet, so where you can filter out your students who are currently still enrolled. So any student that has transitioned away from your school will still show on that list. So, and again, you can connect with me if you need me to walk you through this. If you're actually in a live situation, I'm so happy to do that. But I just wanted to let you know that there is a way to find out who in your building has identified as military connected, and it's right there in PowerSchool.
Right. And you can always ask your data manager to help you with that as well. They know how to access those reports. All right, next we're going to talk about the Purple Star program. And I want to give you just a little bit of background about Purple Star. North Carolina Department of Public Instruction started this program in North Carolina in 2019. And it's simply an award that's designated to schools who show a strong commitment to military families and supporting those students. And so the Purple Star Program Award is linked here to the page. If you are interested in doing that application, it's due every year on February 1st. And if you need help, you can reach out to Heather or myself or any of the other military liaisons across the state. And we're going to give you those names at the end of the presentation, so you have them as well. And here is what you have to do to earn the Purple Star designation. These are the components of the application. The point of contact needs to be a person in your building who is devoted to being able to answer military-related questions. They're going to be the person who probably completes this application and who is going to coordinate some of the activities that are involved with completing the application. You're also going to need a central office staff member who's willing to be knowledgeable in military. One of the things we're going to talk about here in a little bit is MIC3, and having that knowledge base so that you have somebody to ask questions. You also have to do professional development annually. That is a military-based topic. So it's not just professional development, it's professional development regarding military children. We as military liaisons make professional development for our counties. So we're willing to share that with you. If you want to see an example of something, see if you want to use it and take it, we're always willing to share with you those resources. Each school is required to have a military resource page. This can be just contact information, some of the websites that we're going to share with you later. It doesn't have to be anything exhausting. Your transition program, we're going to talk about that one again. So I'm not going to talk too much about it right now. You have to answer some military awareness and MIC3 questions. They are not hard to answer, and there's documents that we can provide for you guys that will help guide you through that process. And then there's an optional school activity. And this is the list of activities that you can choose from. You can do recognition events. Those are things like doing something for Veterans Day or Month of the Military Child, which is right now. So anything that you would have done in your school to honor veterans or military families would be considered a recognition event. You can also nominate a Military Child of the Year. This is a program through Operation Homefront. It is 13 through 18-year-olds, so mostly our middle school, high school age. And it's a quick, simple nomination, and that counts as your optional activity. You can do support projects. We have schools who support our deployed troops. That counts as a support project, just somewhere where you're supporting a military group or family. Staff Common Red Book would be a military child resources, things like that. And then a whole school welcome video or photo slideshow. So something that you could put on your webpage so that families who are in other countries or other states, when they're getting ready to move into your school, they can click on and kind of get a general overview of the school. Here's the gym, here's the cafeteria, here's the media center, here's your school counselor, so that the students have some familiarity with the school when they get there. And then here is what makes a good, solid transition program. So transition programs, this is in Purple Star for military families, but it really is best practice for all of our kids because we all have students who are moving in and out of our school system pretty much on a weekly, if not daily basis. And so a good solid transition program is going to give tours and welcome our newly enrolled students. So that can be a staff member, but we really aim for having students lead the tours and take these newly enrolled students and showing them the important places like, where's the bathroom that you're going to use? Like that's an important thing for a new student. Who do you go to for help in the morning? How do you go through the cafeteria line? Where do you sit with your class? So having, and that looks a little different in elementary school versus your middle school and high school. So just how are you going to welcome these students? Some of our schools give a bag that has their agenda and pencils with the school name on it. So some way to welcome them and make them feel like you're excited to see them there. A good transition program is also going to have scheduled meetings, and we call these hails and farewells. New students, how are you going to check in with them after a period of time? And so sometimes our schools have a meeting once every 9 weeks to just check in. All the new students come down, and there's some kind of dance or food or where they can check in and make sure everybody is on the right track. And then the farewells. I think we often forget how hard it is to say goodbyes. Even as adults, when our friends are leaving or they're moving somewhere, we oftentimes plan a party or a luncheon together. And we forget that even our kids need that kind of closure. So what are you going to do for kids who are moving out? It's going to include a service project. This could be in your school or in the community. It can be things from domestic violence shelters, animal shelters, Wreaths Across America. You can do anything for a service project. Going to have some kind of buddy program, partnering up that new student with a buddy. For our middle schools and high school, maybe someone that they have several classes with, or they have several events or sports that they might want to be involved in together. So someone who has like-mindedness that can help them throughout that day. And then supports leadership development. You are taking these children and putting them in leadership positions. So that's going to develop those leadership skills. And that's our transition programs. And again, those are some of the transition programs that we have and hear of frequently are student to student, anchored for life, and then buddy to buddy student ambassadors. A lot of our schools already have some type of student council, and they can wrap all of this into that role.
Okay, so switching gears again, we are now going to move on to our next topic, which is covering the Military Interstate Children's Compact Commission. We all lovingly refer to this as MIC3 because you can tell that can be a tongue twister at some point. And if we were all in a room together, I would ask you all to raise your hand if you have heard of MIC3. Considering that we're not, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that MIC3, the compact has been adopted by all 50 states. And basically what this does is it offers military students that are transitioning, it offers them a way to level the playing field. So I'm going to go through some different things that the compact, how it applies and how we use it, okay? So the compact applies to active duty members of the armed forces, so National Guard and Reserve on Title 10 orders, uniformed members of the National Atmospheric Administration and then the Public Health Service, and then members who are veteran or have medically been discharged and retired for 1 year. In addition to what I just stated, it does include DoD schools, U.S. and stateside schools, and out of the country as well. So now one thing it does not include, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, is private schools and things of that nature. It is governed by basically your public schools and your DoD and your DOD schools.
I want to just add something right there, Heather.
Yeah,
we
go ahead.
talked about that military identifier earlier. It's really important to note that just because they have a military identifier, that does not mean that they are covered by this compact. This is active duty National Guard Reserve on Title 10, where those you see with a military identifier, it might be a sibling that lives in the household that's in the military, or a grandparent that lives in the household. So it's a little bit different. So just keep that in mind.
It does. And if you do have a question about guardianship, like what about they're the guardian, there will be those unique scenarios, and any of us will be happy to help work through that with you if you have those unique questions as well. All right, so the compact seeks to inform schools of the unique educational challenges of military kids, right? So it focuses on their transitional issues. One of the things that it strives to do is just to have everybody have like a pretty standard treatment. They want to have the playing field leveled truly. It does cover students kindergarten through 12th grade. And again, I reiterate, it's not private school, so it's a public Dodea and Dodd school that the compact does cover there.
And
Go ahead, Danielle.
good.
Okay, and then let me make sure I have covered my note there. All right. Let's talk about some specific things that the compact covers. So compact does cover educational records. It covers immunizations, kindergarten, first grade entrance age, course and educational program implement or replacement, special education services, the placement and flexibility for students, absences due to deployment, eligibility for their enrollment, eligibility for extracurricular participation, and graduation. Now that is a lot. So what we have done here on this slide, and again, we'll provide this to you, is we have linked in yellow there more detailed information that goes through each and every section. It even provides scenarios that you can even glean from in each of the sections. So that will be linked there for you. Also, we have provided in a link to the MIC3 training workbook. One of the things that we strongly suggest to schools is to participate in MIC3's MIC3 101 training. If you go to their website, they have dates available for the 101 training. And again, not endorsing, but I'm just telling you it's a wonderful way to learn about all that the compact will cover. If you do have a question, again, we're here. You're happy to reach out to us, but MIC3 also answers questions as well. If you have a specific case that's within your district and you're not really sure if it's covered by the compact, they are really a wonderful resource. The compact does allow for some things to happen that may not always be standard. And so just know if you're thinking, oh, that's a never, make sure you've read the compact to see if the situation maybe could be something that is covered by that compact.
Heather,
I
I'm
know
thinking
that's a lot.
it is a lot, and I'm thinking just a few things that that stand out and that I frequently handle are the educational records. Military active duty parents are allowed to have hand carried records
Yes.
when they're leaving and bringing them into you, and that's always a big one. Even here. Near our military base where we have the frequent military moves. I always have parents call that said they wouldn't give me hand carried records, and we are required to give them those hand carried records if they ask for them. Another one is graduation. When they move in their senior years, you high school counselors know how challenging those students can be. They have protections under this document that allows them to graduate on time. And there are some things that we can do to help with that. So if you have a situation where you're like, oh, they're not going to meet these requirements, don't hesitate to reach out. We can help you navigate that.
That's right. The goal for MIC3 would for a student not to have to repeat a course. We're especially talking about in high school, but other as well. We don't want students to have to take things over. So it's often important that we be able to talk to them and work with their other school to see how we can work on things like that. So we do kind of, if you will, get in the weeds with that, just so we can make sure we're doing what's in the best interest of the child. We want them to stay on track for graduation, and we don't want this move that they didn't, that their parent moved, so they had to come, that kind of thing. We don't want this to be something that punishes the child. Never. Another one that is pretty popular, that especially in the beginning of your year, is going to be trying out for sports. So sports teams, they shouldn't be left out just because they didn't get here right at that time. So being able to work with that coach and things of those natures. So I know oftentimes, sometimes coaches are not school-based employees. So if you are trying to do purple Purple Star, for example, and you want to train your staff on MIC3. Sometimes coaches may not be teachers at the same time, but it would be a great thing to let them know, hey, I've got this student, they'd like to try out, they are covered under this, and you know, have that conversation with them as well. So there's many, many, many facets to MIC3 and many things that it does cover. And again, each case by case can be looked at individually. All right.
All right, April is Month of the Military Child. It's when we dedicate celebrating the unique needs of our military children. And if you notice, this is all purple. Does anybody know why we use the color purple? All right, so
They do in the comments.
Megan, why did they use purple?
It's all the colors of the different military branches blended together makes purple.
Yeah.
That is right. So that is right. It is all the branches of the service put together and it equals purple. You will oftentimes see the dandelion represent the military child as well. And that's because they bloom where they're planted. So yes, Purple Up Day across North Carolina is this Friday, the 19th. So we do encourage you to put your purple on and support the military children in your area.
I do want to speak to that for just 1 second, because if you do Google Purple Up Day, you are always going to find April 15th. That is Tax Day and Purple Up Day. Well, in North Carolina, the military liaisons, the school liaisons work together to decide what is the best day for all of the branches of service to be able to participate in Purple Up Day together. So therefore, each year it varies because we look at one another's spring break and we look at one another's holidays, because we do want to collaboratively share in this day together as branches across North Carolina. So this year we have identified April 19th, which is Friday, like Danielle said. So we encourage you all to please wear purple and please promote it at your schools as well.
Switching gears a bit, this is an academic resource that some of our military families aren't aware of. It is tutor.com. It is absolutely free for our military families. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's confidential, anonymous. So there are, I know this graphic says 150 subjects. There's actually over 150 subjects now. And for our high school counselors that might be in attendance, this does also include some of those college level classes that your students might be enrolled in, like anatomy and physiology and some of your upper level chemistries. So there are also those college level courses. They do a quick enrollment. It literally takes a minute to enroll in the program, and then they can get in contact with a tutor at any point. They just log in, they tell them exactly what subject they want to work on. The tutor will join them. The tutor will never be able to see them. There's only a chat box available, and the tutor will walk them through the assignment. One of the coolest things I think is out there is the writing piece. Students can submit writing, and within 24 hours, the tutor is going to return that to them. They're going to edit, they're going to give them feedback and suggestions, and they can submit that writing as many times as they need to until they have a perfect piece. So thinking about college essays and things like that. It's a great tool. There's also SAT and ACT prep. It's linked to colleges and average ACT and SAT scores. So there's lots of information in there. You can also, if you're interested in advertising at your school, you can go in and order materials. You can print materials. You can order pens just to have in your office if you do have some military students and you want to talk about it. It's no cost. They'll send you whatever you want for that. So it's a great resource. The kids that are using it really enjoy using it. You can favorite tutors so that you can go back to the same tutor. If you find one you really like, it's a great program.
One of the things I really have enjoyed seeing kids do live with this tutor.com is the math component. Like if they're doing a math problem, they'll come up with a live like whiteboard where the student can write on and the tutor can actually circle this is supposed to be a negative, not a positive. So it's very live, very interactive. So we definitely want to get the word out there about tutor.com because it's very helpful.
And the best thing is the tutor will never give them the answer. They make them do all the work. They're going to ask leading questions and have you thought about this? But they're never going to just give them the answer.
That's right. It's a wonderful service.
All right, the next page is just a lot of different resources. Military One Source is all branches of government. They really have everything. There are some resources that you can order on there. There's books about bullying, books about divorce that you can have, or if you're working with a military family that's going through one of those things, you can help them. Military One Source has those. MSEC, Military Child Education Coalition, they have a wealth of resources. If you're interested in student to student, that transition program, you would go to this MSEC site. There's information there for that program. Lots of resources there as well. Penn State is, I can't even tell you how many articles are in there. Just lots and lots of resources for you. So if you're specific, skill that you want to work on, maybe you need some behavior modifications. There's information there. Some of it is for military families, and then some of it's just best practices for all kids. Psych Armor is another website who has lots of free education products, videos, training modules that you can go through on various topics. The School Superintendents Association, that one has professional learning resources for military students. This specific link to Pinterest is all about things that you can do to support military families. So it was just a search in Pinterest and there's lots of cute little activities. For those of us in elementary school that are working with our primary kids, Sesame Street for military families, there's videos, they do belly breathing. There's all types of topics covered in this Sesame Street for military families. Using the Sesame Street characters, so very friendly. And then of course, the National Traumatic Stress Network. There's lots of articles and information about military and veteran families there as well. And then this link, the Public Schools of North Carolina, is linked to the military page. That's a really easy place to go find all of our names. If you need to contact one of us, that includes the school liaisons that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. It includes Purple Star and lots of other resources for our military families.
So we are coming to the end and we want to allow time for questions, but what we did want to circle back to is just, we're hoping we've accomplished our objectives for you. So we hope you have a better understanding of military family lifestyle, of how to identify your military students within your school, to familiarize yourself with the laws that level the playing field, so that MIC3 that we talked about, and locate resources that will help the unique needs of your military students. Okay, so this is how you can get up with us. So within North Carolina, there is a military liaison at each major branch. Some are larger than others, so have more than one. So for example, I'm the only one in Wayne County, and then Miss Nasser is the only one in Craven County, but our others have multiple. So you will see them there. You will see our contact email and our contact phone number as well. And then you'll notice at the bottom, there's Mr. Howard Lattimore, who is our state military consultant with NCDPI. So we all work together and we work all with Mr. Lattimore at the state level. And then our school liaisons. So if you are not a person that is teaching or counseling in a district that has high military, or you have a base installation within your district, one of the things that's important to know is if you have a military connected kid, school liaisons cover all counties that the kids are in. So let's say you have a child with an active duty member on Seymour Johnson. And I say that because that's my, that's my base. So our liaison's name is Mrs. Christy Barnes Williams, and you can connect with Miss Christy Barnes Williams. Let's say you're a counselor in Johnston County. She is still willing to help you through navigating any of those things, as well as any of the other school liaisons as well. School liaisons do work with public schools, but they also work with private homeschools, all of that as well. So we are primarily, our district liaison role is for the K-12 education, and we work for primarily for the school districts with the bases. But the school liaisons do work for all of their military students that are affiliated with their base, no matter where they land and no matter what they go to school for. So we want to make sure that you have access to all of us. We want to make sure that if you have questions, we're all here for you. All right, so that kind of concludes our session, if you will, but we do want to put some time up for comments. So comments, questions, anything like that. So I'm going to switch my screen over just a little bit and see if I can catch any questions in this section here.
Heather, I've been monitoring the chat for you now. I think you've been addressing most of them, but we definitely have a couple of minutes to open up the floor for questions. If you want to unmute, you can unmute and ask a question or put a question or comment in the chat.
I just have a brief comment. Well, I had put a comment in the chat because I had a little emergency and I had to leave for a few minutes. But I'm going to tell you, this is like a dream come true. I attended 13 elementary schools as a child, 2 middles and 1 high school. And this is like a dream that I dreamed that another child would have this opportunity. I didn't have it. And I missed out on so many different things that you guys are providing. So it's just like, I'm like celebrating this. It's wonderful. And I love this month, of course, because of that. But thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so
And we
much.
have a wonderful liaison in Craven County. So I
Yes,
shout
you
out.
do, girl. She
Yes,
is
you
the
do.
best.
Yes, you do.
We love her. We love her. She's amazing. I see in the comments that someone wanted me to go over the purple update for North Carolina again, and that's Friday, April the 19th. So this Friday, if you'll encourage your schools and your students to wear purple, and post it on your social media. The more that NCDPUI picks it up, the better. We want this spread across. We want military kids to be celebrated. So they're our youngest heroes, right, y'all?
That's right.
And Heather, the question was, do you happen to know the date for next year as well for Purple Up?
We do not yet. We are waiting for everyone to solidify their school calendars. So once everybody has solidified their school calendars with their school board, then we will meet again as a group and we'll say, when our spring breaks are and what date that will be. But typically it's going to be a Friday, and typically it's going to be as close to April 15th as we can get it. And one of the things that we'll do is we'll put that out there as soon as we know it for next school year.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Megan's asking, will we be able to share the slides? Yes, Megan, this presentation is currently being recorded. So you'll get a copy, you'll get an email sent to you in the next couple of days with the presentation included in it. So you'll have access to the slides. Any other questions or comments for Danielle or Heather? Jamie Livingood says excellent information, ladies. And I would agree with that. So I will say thank you again to both you, Danielle and Heather. We appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon and sharing your knowledge about military families. I think that information is much needed. I think the image that will continue to resonate with me is the image of the gentleman with the half business shirt and the half military shirt. I have a family whose father just deployed 2 weeks ago, and the mom sent in an email saying he was deployed, and I didn't know that he was military connected because they hadn't indicated that in Power School, but it's there now. So now just kind of reflecting and thinking about that and making sure that the supports are there for the student is how I definitely will move forward. So thank you for just kind of reminding us for the day-to-day who are in Power Schools to look for the symbol, to run that report. I ran the report when you gave us the steps on how to do that too. So making sure that we have all the supports in place for our military student. And as Ms. Ward has shared, as a military student herself, you know, she's gone through the transitions and changes, and she appreciates what you all are doing now. And we appreciate what you're doing now to support every military child here in North Carolina. So thank you very much. I hope everyone is able to join us for our next webinar, which will be next month. It'll be on Wednesday, May 15th, and that one is on supporting multilingual learners. You will receive an email with the recording for today, along with the handouts and an evaluation about today's session. And after you complete the evaluation, you will have a certificate emailed to you to show your attendance. Thank you again, everyone, for attending, and special thank you to Danielle and Heather. We hope that you all will be available next year to share more information about how to support our military children and families. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.